So the topic this morning, which I hope you're all raring to hear about, is sexual harassment. I was going to call the session Fun with Sexual Harassment, but then we decided that, maybe that wasn't quite appropriate. I gave some people around the room some pieces of paper, which I said, please don't look at. Could you turn them over, and with a couple of people around you, just sort of spend 30 seconds to a minute deciding, is that comment that's on that piece of paper sexual harassment or not? So talk to a couple of people around you and then think about, is that sexual harassment or not? So by the buzz in the room, I take it that caused a little bit of conversation and a little bit of... Have any of you ever phoned an HR consultant to ask for advice about something, like this or similar? Because, Frank, and what's the first thing an HR consultant will usually say to you?
You charge.
No, that's not. In actual fact, we do exactly the opposite, because we always say, you've got a problem, let's sort your problem out first, and there isn't a charge for that. So, and we'll talk about whether we want to work together, if we like each other going forward. So, no, Frank, I hate to say that's not correct. Usually, the answer is, it depends. Yeah. And by the nods around the room and that, I would imagine that those are two words that probably came up in your discussions. But Debbie, what did your one say?
Well, I mean, if somebody's here said, would you like to go for a drink sometime, I would just assume it was business to business. And at my age, I don't think there'd be anything else. But in the workplace, I suppose many years ago, I mean, there were no HR consultants when I was working, and I was very much a woman in a man's world. Some of the verbal abuse that I used to get was shocking. And I was actually told, when I went after my job, the boss had this idea that women would get in where a man wouldn't. He said, the testing time will come when you go the second time. Will they let you in again? But some of the comments they used to make to me, I used to actually think, well, if I was a chap, they wouldn't do this. But there were no HR consultants in the early 70s. So.
Okay. So the context makes a huge difference, doesn't it? So, like Debbie said, if it was in a networking group, that's about business. If it was in a workplace, if it's in a social context, completely different. And different things are acceptable at sort of different times. Sarah?
Yes, in fact that was exactly what we said. It depends on the context. The comment is, I missed you today, call me. So yeah, absolutely, we were saying if it was somebody that you'd only just occasionally met, that would be a bit creepy. But if it was somebody you sat next to all the time, actually that'd be rather nice to receive that text. So yeah, it completely depends. Yeah.
James? I know you're sat on the end table, but is that okay?
My comment was, that dress would look nice on my bedroom floor.
You've never said that to me before, James. That's what you said about my suit.
We agreed that it depends. I mean, a lot of the time I think that probably would be definitely not right. But then, if it's the kind of person that that might be their personality, perhaps they might say things like that as a joke. I think again, it depends.
When you're in a hole, James, stop digging. Thank you, James. Actually, that is exactly the sort of thing that lots of employers say to me when they do phone and ask questions about this sort of thing, is that, oh, that's just their personality, they're just like that. That's the sort of office banter culture that we have, etc. So it's interesting that you say that, because actually that is what a lot of people say. Frank?
Harassment.
What was on your
Well,
slip?
curiously enough, it should be gender neutral, but it isn't. Did you have a fight with your boyfriend? And fight is such a strong word. Yeah, that's what we were debating, wasn't it? That's sort of argument or disagreement.
In American, it just means an argument. And we're all, our kids are all speaking American these days because they're watching American movies.
Therefore,
It just means to have an argument.
there's a context here. You said no HR years ago because the environment, the context, that was all acceptable. But now, people question it. Quite rightly so.
So, but it's quite interesting, the gender neutral thing, because actually, you know, having a fight with your boyfriend applies to lots of people and different genders and that sort of thing. Stephen, can I?
My quote was, would you like to Netflix and chill? Well, I think it was when I winked at my esteemed colleague and she said that that wasn't appropriate.
Okay, so we get lots of comments that go on and everything else, and I'm certainly not here to say you shouldn't have office banter, and I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm not overly politically correct in terms of those sort of things, and I try to have a sensible sort of common sense approach to everything to do with HR, really.
Can I just say that when I was a ward sister, there was this consultant who was notorious for looking at your chest whenever he approached, you know, and well, we just wrote him off as a silly, dirty old man, you know, and again, we didn't approach HR, we didn't think, you know, well, maybe we should report it, because you can't actually, he wasn't touching or doing anything like that, but you could see his eyes were roaming, and that was a difficult one. Really.
Yeah. Sometimes it's very difficult to pin down. It's a feeling. I feel uncomfortable around that person, rather than anything they've particularly done or anything they've particularly said or done which is different to somebody else. So we'll touch on that around the culture thing in a minute. Thank you, Pauline. But it's very true. I worked for Marriott at one point in my career, and we had a whole rebrand, new uniforms and everything else, and we had a branding consultant come in to do some work with us, and actually it was brilliant. It was really interesting. But one of the things, and I've got my name badge here today, but one of their things was the brand standard was you put it on your shoulder, so that the eye went to the shoulder, not to the not to your boobs, if you were a lady. So, and that was quite interesting, because they said, no, you want your customers to be looking at your name badges, and they should be looking at, and also it's easier, isn't it? Because, you know, for most of us, I mean, I've done it, I'm trying to see somebody's name badge, and you know, I'm sort of peering, I'm thinking, I don't, you know, even woman to woman, I feel quite uncomfortable doing that, you know, so it's just quite interesting, isn't it?